Today we'll be going over Donald Trump versus Joseph Biden. Who's the bigger fraud? Joe Biden used a speech in Pittsburgh to argue that the president has made the country unsafe. He can't stop the violence because for years he's fomented it. President Trump calls his supporters peaceful in defense of 17-year-old who shot 3 people in Wisconsin. President Trump on Monday defended a teenage supporter accused of killing 2 people during unrest in Wisconsin and declined to condemn his supporters' use of paintballs and pepper spray against protesters in Portland, Oregon. Over the weekend, calling his supporters peaceful and saying pain is not bullets. Mr. Trump made the comments at a White House briefing moments after he criticized his Democratic challenger Joseph R. Biden Jr., the former vice president, for not specifically condemning protesters who backed the Antifa movement when Mr. Biden criticized all forms of violence in a speech earlier in the day. Mr. Trump defended Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old supporter of the president who was charged last week with 2 counts of first-degree homicide and 1 count of attempted homicide after he shot 3 protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin in the unrest that has followed the police shooting of a black man, Jacob Blake.
He's the definition of corruption.
Look, Biden.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
Fool.
One of the people who Mr. Rittenhouse is accused of shooting is said to have had his hands up in the air. That was an interesting situation, Mr. Trump said of Rittenhouse. Hours after the White House press secretary said he would not be commenting on the matter, he was trying to get away from them, and he fell, and then they were very violently attacked him. It is something that we're looking at right now. It is under investigation. I guess he was in very big trouble. He probably would have been killed, but it is under investigation. Asked whether private citizens should be taking up arms at protests, Mr. Trump said, "I think law enforcement should take care of everything, but we have to give our cops and police the dignity back." At another point, he declined to criticize the actions of members of a caravan of Trump supporters in Portland, Oregon, over the weekend when they fired paintballs and aimed pepper spray at people protesting police brutality. "I tell you what they're protesting," Mr. Trump said of his supporters. "They see a city like Chicago where 78 people were shot and 13 died, or a city like New York where the crime wave went through the roof, or a city like Portland where the city is ablaze all the time." After Mr. Trump's remarks, Mr. Biden released a statement which he said he used a statement on Sunday and a speech on Monday in Pittsburgh to decry violence under any political banner, and that he implored Mr. Trump to do the same. "I urge the president to join me in saying that while peaceful protest is a right, and necessity violence is wrong. Period. No matter who does it, no matter what political affiliation they have, period. If Donald Trump can't say that, then he is unfit to be president, and his preference for more violence, not less, is clear." Joseph R. Biden on Monday issued a forceful rebuttal to President Trump's claim that the former vice president would preside over a country wrecked by disaster and lawlessness, asserting that it was Mr. Trump who had made the country unsafe through his erratic and incendiary governing style. "This president long ago forfeited any moral leadership in this country," Mr. Biden said in his most prominent effort yet to deflect the barrage of criticism Republicans levied against him at their convention last week. He can't stop the violence because for years he's fomented it. Against the backdrop of street violence unfolding in multiple cities across the nation, Mr. Biden condemned destruction, noted that chaos was unfolding on the president's watch, and charged that Mr. Trump had made the country unsafe, both by stoking division amid an outcry over racism and police brutality, and through his handling of the coronavirus crisis and the economy. "Rioting is not protesting," Mr. Biden said of the unrest. "Looting is not protesting. Setting fires is not protesting. None of this is protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple, and those who do it should be prosecuted." At another point, Mr. Biden expressed incredulity at the idea that he is some kind of radical. "Ask yourself, do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters?" Mr. Biden, 77, said. "Really, I want a safe America. Safe from COVID, safe from crime, and safe from looting. Safe from racially motivated violence, safe from bad cops. Let me be crystal clear. Safe from 4 more years of Donald Trump." Mr. Biden promised to work together to bring those protesting to racial justice, a cause he supports with police officers, and said he would unite the country more broadly, as he also condemned police shootings of black Americans. At one point, Mr. Biden challenged the president directly. "Mr. Trump, do you want to talk about fear?" Mr. Biden asked. "Do you know what people are afraid of in America? They're afraid they're going to get COVID, they're afraid they're going to get sick and die, and that is no small part because of you." He noted that more police officers had died from the coronavirus than were killed on patrol. "Does anyone believe there will be less violence in America if Donald Trump is re-elected?" Mr. Biden said. On election day, he said, "Voters will decide. Will we rid ourselves of this toxin?" Much of the Republican argument against Mr. Biden on law and order issues is rooted in false claims about Mr. Biden's positions. He opposes defunding the police. For example, though Republicans have inaccurately said he supports that policy. In contrary to Republican distortions of his record on battling crime, Mr. Biden, to the discomfort of progressives and some criminal justice advocates, played a key role in shepherding the 1994 criminal bill into law. The bill was supported at the time by a wide array of figures, including President Bill Clinton and Rudolph W., who was then New York's mayor, but many experts now associate it with mass incarceration. But some Democrats worry that Mr. Biden has not been visible enough in laying out his own views on such searing issues, and he sought to put those concerns to rest in Pittsburgh. Despite pleas from state and local officials, Mr. Trump plans to travel on Tuesday to Kenosha, Wisconsin, where disturbances broke out after a white police officer shot and paralyzed Jacob Blake, a black man. 2 people protesting the police shooting were shot and killed later that week, and a 17-year-old, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, who attended a Trump rally earlier this year, was charged in their killing. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.